Some of the oldest American apples there are. These are an apple called Roxbury Russet. It was found in Roxbury, Massachusetts in the 17th century. It was the first apple thought to originate in America. The colonial folks brought with them apple seeds when they came to America, but you didn't necessarily get, and it's probably unlikely that you would get the same apple from the seed that you planted. So this is one of the varieties that prospered, that people really liked, and it was for a number of purposes. As you can see from the skin, they're russeted, so it sort of almost looks like a potato, and that
they do. It really does. It's
the benefit of that is that the skin is quite coarse, right. And so the early Americans liked them because they were good keepers. You could put them, in your root cellar, because you of course didn't have any kind of cold storage at that time. Put them in the root cellar, and they would keep till May. They'd get a little soft, but actually the flavors developed with the russets the longer they're in storage, or at least for a couple of 3 months the flavors develop. They don't continually improve, and also the sugars develop in too, so it becomes a little sweeter apple. So that was the second reason they liked these apples, is because they were, back in those days you couldn't count on the water being clear and safe to drink, but you could count on cider being safe to drink, and everybody drank it. It was 4 or 5% alcohol. It was easy to make a batch of fermented juice. You make it just like wine, ferment it, and the other reason they like this is because of the sugar content of this fruit. Gave it a high alcohol, and of course made it a little, everybody has a sweet tooth, and even back in those days I'm sure they did.
So cider was actually more popular than wine in the colonial era, is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
That's amazing.
So what I've got with me here is a refractometer, which basically one just fell, measures the bricks, the sugar content of the fruit. And we use that for a couple of reasons. One, as an approximation of ripening, we do another test, a starch iodine test to test ripening also. But we want this, and one of these apples, you can sort of taste it and get a sense from the taste as to whether it's ripe or nearly ripe. But we also like to know the sugar content because there's a direct relationship between the starting sugar content and the finished alcohol if it were you to ferment this juice. So this apple I just plucked off this tree has actually got a brix of 16.5%. It's the second one we've tested, and it's normally a high sugar apple, but even unripe, that apple is at 16% brix, which means it might finish at 18%, which would actually produce a 9% finished alcohol. So it would be pretty high in alcohol. What we will do is blend this apple in our hard ciders with what are called bittersweet apples. They're apples that are very high in tannins, something that gives you that mouthfeel, the back of the throat, the nice appealing taste that you get from wines and ciders. But they are high in tannins, so they give you that mouthfeel, but they're very low in sugar, so they produce a low alcohol cider, and they're also low in acidity, so we blend a third apple with them, a sharp apple that is higher in acidity. So this is a really nice apple. This will serve as the base juice for a lot of the ciders, and by base I mean it's going to be 60 to 70% of any of the juices, the hard ciders that we make, or a lot of the hard ciders that we make. It will also go into some of the fresh cider. It's one of the outstanding. I mean, it's got this just lovely, smooth caramel type taste to it. Their apples are great paired with any kind of cheese, and they're just while they look russeted and they're not the pretty shiny red apple that you might find at a lot of the grocery stores. We've slowly introduced them to a lot of people here, and who have found them, like I do, just to be packed full of flavor and nice for cooking, for making pies, and for pairing with some cheeses.
Great. Thank you.